Hey everybody, welcome back to How I Do It. So today, doing something a little simple, but something that we talked about on the Friday night stream 2 weeks ago. We just had a stream this past Friday. It was the Friday 2 weeks before that. We had the community builds discussion for projects such as We the Builders with Rosie the Riveter, and last year for Maker Faire New York, the Maker Box coin, 3-foot Maker coin that they split up and sent pieces out across the world. Gonna do the same thing for the Friday night 3D Printing Community Hangout logo. So I'm gonna use Netfabb Basic version 7.4, which is still free if you search for it on Google. The original Netfabb license allows that to be redistributed, even though Autodesk still owns it. So you can still get Netfabb Basic, you just got to do some digging to find it. I'm going to use that to both scale up the logo. Currently the logo is 4 inches wide at 100% scale. I'm going to increase that and make it so the coin will be 4 feet by 6.5 feet. So 4 feet tall, 6.5 feet wide. And actually, give me a second, let me grab it. So this is actually the logo that we're going to scale up. This is the one I took along to Murph, and the same one that I printed out for the original Friday night hangout host from the very first stream a little over a year ago. So we're going to take this. Now this is scaled up. I forget what the exact percentage was, but basically I maxed out the scale of it for printing on my CR10 to print it full scale on the bed. This one's 11.5 inches wide overall. So we're going to take the original one, which is pretty small. Like I said, it's only about 4 inches wide. We're going to scale it up and make it 4.5 feet by 6 feet. I'm sorry, 4 feet by 6.5 feet. To be on display at the table for the Friday night hangouts at ERRF. So let's go ahead and get to it. I'll switch over here to my desktop and we'll start working. And I am going to go ahead and pay attention to the chat and everything. So, I mean, you guys have questions as I go, suggestions. I've never actually done this before. I don't think I've even used Netfabb before. So I'm going to kind of fumble my way through this, and you guys can kind of learn along with me. And right now in the chat, we've got Dragon Monk. How you doing, Sean? And we have James from Print and Play in the chat as well. So, alright, let's go ahead and get to this. I'm going to try my best as I work on this to talk my way through it as well. So first thing we're going to do is go to the project menu, and we're going to add a part. We're actually going to add 4 parts because the way I have this sliced up, the model that I did is in layers to get the multi-color like this one has. It's interesting, it's stuff. So in order to get the multi-color on here, let me switch back to this camera so you can see it. So to get that multi-layer level, I did 4 different STL files that do each layer to make slicing easier. Now I just did filament swap, but if you had Prusa multi-material or palette, you could go ahead and use that to do the multi-color print without actually having to pause and restart, swap filament, and restart the print. So we're going to go ahead and use the same files for this rather than doing the solid files. So we're going to select the 4 of those, and obviously the file names are respective to the collar that they are. So we're going to go ahead and hit open. And as you can see, our overall dimensions are 116.54 millimeters by 74.53 millimeters. So 116 wide, 74.5 tall. We are going to scale that up. I actually did the scaling in Mesh Mixer just to get the numbers right. We're going to scale it up to 1,000 905 millimeters wide, so that's going to be just about 6.5 feet wide. So we'll go back here to Netfabb, and we're going to click on the scaling tool. Now I do have all of the pieces over here. I want to make sure they're selected, and then we'll hit the scale button, which brings up the window for scaling. Sorry, let me switch back to that screen. Okay, so I'll do that again just so everybody can see it. So deselect everything. We'll go over here on the right hand side to the navigation bar, select all 4 pieces, click up here at the top for scale parts, and now we're going to change the target size to 1,905 millimeters. Just double check our numbers. Yep, that's right. Now that automatically, because I have fixed scaling ratio turned on, automatically scaled the y-axis to 1,218.4 millimeters. Yeah, Matt Johnson, but the Netfabb free trial, it is downloadable for free, but it's only good for 30 days. Oh, wait, what else do you have here? All the features of Netfabb Premium, including advanced packaging, support structures, and support for metal additive systems. When the trial expires, the software will continue to run with the same functionality that was previously Netfabb Basic for most users. Well, that's good to know. I'm going to go ahead and use Netfabb Basic. I'm assuming the new versions are similar. Oh, you posted that right off the website. I appreciate that, Matt Johnson. So for anybody who's interested, Matt Johnson said you can download the 30-day trial from Autodesk, which bought Netfabb, and it'll give you the premium features for 30 days, but then it'll revert back to the basic features after that. So it'll continue to work. So I appreciate that, Matt Johnson. Thanks for posting that in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and continue to use Netfabb Basic just because I have it. There's a chance that the premium version probably will allow me to do this easily. I know there's an option up here in the projects menu for... Oh, I can't do it right now. There's an option in the project menu for cutting a large STL file. Lightbot's going... Sorry about that, Matt Johnson. Nightbot went a little nuts for the multiple posts. This is the first stream I've got Nightbot running, so I apologize if it acts up. It's a dry run for it, so we'll see how it goes. But okay, so back to scaling. So we're going to scale the model to target size of 1,905 millimeters by 1,218.4 millimeters. And the one thing I do want to do is I'm going to give the Z height a nice round number. I want this to be, they're going to be big files on, excuse me, 150 millimeters by 150 millimeters, which will allow most people to print them. But instead of going really tall with it, I'm going to only go about 50 millimeters tall. So we will turn off, now that we did this scaling and everything scaled uniformly, we're going to turn off fixed scaling, and I'm going to change the Z height to 50 millimeters. That way there's shorter pieces for people to print. And that should be it. We're going to go ahead and hit scale. And as you can see, it got really big, so let's zoom out here. So there we go. Now, the next thing we want to do, we want to make sure all the pieces are selected. And by default, when you open up Netfabb, it's like they know you want to cut these parts up. I'm not sure what Netfabb's skitzing out about. Sorry about that. When you open up Netfabb and load a model into it, it apparently automatically goes into cut mode and gives you the option right down here on the right hand side. So we're going to go ahead, go down here, and the one thing I did figure out just a little bit playing with this before the stream, for some reason it does not allow you to execute the cut right off the bat. Now I want to put a cut right down the middle of the logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the X to 0.01 millimeter, and then I'm going to take that 0.01 back out. Now I can hit execute cut. Hey Mike, thanks for joining. I'm going to pre-warn you, Nightbot's going a little nuts. This is the first test with it, so now again, this thing doesn't actually show you. Oh, there it is. It is showing me my cut line now. So now I have a cut line right down the middle. I am going to go ahead and hit cut. I do want to see, what are these green boxes? I don't know what they're for. So we're going to go ahead, cut right down the middle, so we'll select cut down here. And that puts a cut right down the middle. So now we're going to do the same thing. We want to cut all parts, make sure that's in there. Change this to 125. I think I said 150 a minute ago. I'm going to go 125. That way with people who are using mirror on a large format printer like the CR10 with a 300 by 300 build area, a lot of people are using 12.5-inch mirror tiles from the big box home improvement stores. So I'm going to keep this thing to 125, which will scale up. Obviously, if they want to, they can print 125, or they may be able to actually fit another one on their build area and print 2 of them at a time. But it'll also allow people with smaller printers such as the Prusa with a 200 millimeter build area to be able to print it as well. Unfortunately, people with like the MP minis and stuff, should only scale XY dimensions, leave Z alone. There's no reason for something that big to be that thick. Yeah, Tony Ryan, I changed the Z thickness to 50 millimeters instead of going, it wanted to scale it up to 64, so I dropped the Z back down to 50. Because yeah, going 125 by 125 on the cuts, I don't want people to have to print forever, but at the same time too, we're going to have enough pieces here that we'll be able to get through quite a few people being able to print this out, but it'll still be a quicker print because it's only going to be 50 millimeters tall. And we'll see, once they get this done and we have a total number counted up, we might add some more cuts in here. So we did the cut down the middle. We're going to go 125 millimeters to the right and execute cut again. That should give us a line right there. For some reason, it's not rendering the line until I like shift it around. So we're at 125 millimeters. We're going to hit cut. And now we have 3 separate pieces. So we're going to do this again. 125 plus 125 is 250. Execute cut. Cut. If somebody knows a quicker way to do this, that's alright, Tony Ryan, when you can go back to lurking. But I did see your note about the Z height. Yeah, so if somebody does know a way to do multiple cuts across this, go ahead and punch it in the chat. I'd be more than happy to know. Like I said, I've never used this before, so bear with me if I'm not quite doing it the most efficient way. It at least works. So we were at 250, so 250 plus 125 is going to be 375. And we're going to execute cut. Hey, 3D Medic Vince. Okay, so we're 325. Where'd my mouse go? We're going to go ahead and cut. Or, what was that? 375, I'm sorry. So now we're going to go 500. Execute, cut. And this is going to be kind of repetitive, so I apologize for that. 500, so 625. Cut, or execute cut, cut. Hey Carl, thanks for joining. Glad you could make it. Let's see, so 625, so we're going to go 750. Execute cut. Cut. Carl, just for you joining in, we're using Netfabb Basic to slice up the Friday Night 3D printing logo, as you can see here. The logo is scaled up to be 4 feet tall by roughly 6.5 feet wide. So we were at 625, 500, 625, so we're going to go 750. No, that's not right. Yeah, 750. Or did I already do 750? You guys are, yeah, I did 750. So we're going to go 875. Execute cut. So I think what we might end up doing is we're going to have this tail off the side here. Maybe what I'll do is then come back and split those up into smaller pieces for people with smaller build areas. Yep, I'm gonna beat your pangolin. This thing's gonna take up the whole Friday night logo at ERRF. And yeah, speaking of which, for those of you who don't know, the East Coast Rep Festival, currently the little sister, little brother, however you want to put it, to MRF, the Midwest Rep Festival, is sorry, I got a stink bug flying around my office. The East Coast Rep Festival is going to be taking place June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. I believe that's the right dates. June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, yeah. Down in Bel Air, Maryland, which is about an hour-ish south of me. Friday night community hangouts are going to have a booth there, so I'm doing this as a community build for the Friday night hangout, or for the table for ERRF. Okay, so we did everything from the center to the right, so now we're going to do everything in reverse. So we started out at 0, we're going to go negative 125, execute cut, cut, and we're going to keep on going down through here. Carl Brown in the chat has one of the pangolins. I forget what scale he said. I think he said 200 and some % scale. Done in every one of the colors of polyalchemy elixir filament. Thing looks freaking awesome. He has it configured in like a rainbow pattern. I got to see it down at Printed Solid's monthly meetup this past Sunday, yesterday. %, he said. Yeah, I know, Mike. That's a little ambitious to have this thing done for ERRF, but that's going to be the goal. $625, $750. I'm sure everybody can pull together and we can make this thing happen. Okay. That was 750. So we're going to go 875. Negative 875. I keep forgetting that negative. Execute. Okay. So now we are sliced the whole way across. Oh, actually I got to do that. Now we're sliced the whole way across. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing on the Y. So we're going to change this. There's a bug in Netfabb, or at least I'm considering it a bug, that the execute cut doesn't allow you to put a cut right down the middle by default. So you change it to 0.01, and then take the 0.01 out after the execute cut button lights up. Hang on a second, let me go in and fix Nightbot real quick. That's being a bit of a pain in the butt. I just turned Nightbot on for the stream for the first time, so there's a few hiccups with it. Timers, edit, let's get rid of that, submit. Okay, there we go. That should straighten out Nightbot. Yeah, we're not going to have 2,600 parts. I'm definitely not doing it as big as We the Builders. Let's see. Apocalypse Survivor. OMG, you hacking cheater, tricking your software into shenanigans with your bit twiddling. That's funny. Wait, what happened there? Okay. Yeah, tricking it, I guess. I guess that's the word for it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut this one. That's the one. Should be right down the middle. Yep. Whoa. That's weird. Why did it do that? Oh, because I'm looking at it on an angle. I saw the line going down the middle, kind of jumping up and down. I thought it cut it unevenly. Okay, so that was 0, so we're going to go 125. Execute. Cut. We're going to go 250. Execute. Cut. What do you guys think about chunks 125 by 125 millimeters by 50 millimeters tall? Do you think that's reasonable, or do you think that's too big? I don't want to have a lot of pieces, but yeah, got to think in 3D. That threw me off there for a second. I don't want to have a ton of pieces because we are trying to. I'm going to try to get this done for ERRF, to go on the table. But at the same time, I figured 125 is probably 125 square is probably a good height, or X and Y for everybody for build areas. But it is going to cut some people out. So what do you guys think? I don't know. What you guys' thoughts about multicolor? Carl asked in the chat if I'm thinking about multicolor. If I send it out for a community build, the way this is done right now, like you can see it's multicolor on the screen as is. If I send it out for a community build for multicolor, there's two ways I could do it. I could have people do layer switching, or I could actually take the 4 separate layers and send those out as individual pieces, but that's going to multiply this into 4 times the amount of pieces. Yeah, if somebody was going to, this is done, you can do this one with layer filament swaps at layer heights, or filament pauses. Everything, all the colors are stacked, so it doesn't require multi-material to do it. Flat rate cost 125 by 125 sounds good though. That's kind of what I was thinking as far as shipping goes. This should 125 by 125 should fit in one of the cheaper flat rate envelopes, so it's not going to be expensive for people to ship it. Flat rate typically, I mean, as long as it's in the United States, flat rate's going to end up being what, about $6 at the most or something, $6 or $7. You think Carl's saying to go ahead and join all 4 layers and let people do the collar swaps at the layers? I think that would be fine if people want to do that. I haven't decided exactly how we're gonna send it out yet, but alright, I'm gonna get back to slicing this thing up so you're not just sitting here looking at my screen listening to me chat. Yeah, I would think slicing it up would work. So let's see, 0, 125, 250, so 37, whoops, wrong one, 375. The question is whether everybody's going to want to do that. Yeah, Mike's saying, that's the other side of what I was thinking, Mike. The print whatever collar you want method is probably the easiest one, the most responses we're going to get out of it from people, because not everybody can, as far as if we ship one piece that's the multiple layers, not everybody can reliably do filament swaps, so they'd be at a little bit of a disadvantage there. And everybody's going to have different shades of orange and gray, black, beige. Yeah, Vince, I know you're good at doing the filament swaps. Yeah, shipping for international is the biggest struggle with doing a community build. What do you mean cut an X or... oh. Okay, so it was yelling at me because I didn't have a value entered for X. So... oh, bite me. Okay. We're just going to tell it. We're cutting it in the Y. What did I do? Something doesn't look right there. What is that hole? Okay, let's cancel this. I did something wrong. Okay, so we're going to go 375 is where we were at. Execute. Cut. What's that going to do? Okay, there it worked. Netfabb's really... Netfabb Basic 7.4 is really glitchy. How big of a box did you put your rosy pieces in, Mike? With spending $30. I know you're shipping from Canada, which isn't quite as bad as most places, but what is the cost of that? Or the size of what you shipped and weight and everything? Krieg 3D Printing Space said he hates filament swaps. He used a 3-collar print and had to switch for my second extruder collar. For the second extruder collar, I wanted to rip what's left of my hair out. Yeah, I think we might just let people do it up the way they want. What I may end up doing is printing it out myself as well on my CR10, slicing it in bigger pieces, and doing it in collar, the 4 collars to match. But I think, yeah, for the community build, I think, yeah, the consensus is going to be if you want to do the multi-collar, you can. I'll publish the order of the collars on the print and the layer heights. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I think that's a good way to go. What do you guys think? Yeah, that's how this currently is, Carl. It's already sliced by the layer. So, like, I could give you all 4, and then you could glue them together. Or we could just have people print the 4 layers. We'll have to see how many pieces total I got when it's all said and done. So that was 375, so I'm going to go 500. I did it again. 0. 100. 500. Execute. Oh, I bet I knew why this is doing this. Okay, cut in the Y direction. Cut. There we go. I have a feeling that's going to be the last cut going vertical. So that was 500. So let's see where 625 puts us. Yep, we're off the screen. So That's it there. So we're going to go negative 125. Execute. Yeah, so the reason it started asking me if I wanted to cut in the X and the Y is because I kept accidentally entering a value in X and then changed the Y, so it was just asking which one I wanted to do. 18 piece. Mike had 18 pieces in 34 by 27 centimeters, so 340. Wait, 34. 34 centimeters by 27 centimeters. Oh, the box. Okay, yeah. So 340 millimeters for the by 270 millimeters by 13 centimeters. Box weighing 1.741 kilograms, and it's going to take about a week to get there. And Carl's going to print his pieces in polyalchemy collars. Oh, really? 2 inches thick's going to be an issue. We can go thinner. I wonder if it's too late to go thinner. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's finish slicing it up, and then we'll try to shorten the Z height. So 130 centimeters, or yeah, 13 centimeters is the. What's the highest that you can put in your mailbox, Mike, in Canada? 2 inches thick. You said it's going to be too hard to pass. Let's see. Where's my calipers? So that is pretty thick, ain't it? We could go. You will need the thickness to keep it rigid when assembled. Yeah, I'm debating how I want to do that, because this is going to be laying flat on a table. So what I was kind of thinking is they don't necessarily have to be all rigid. And keeping in mind, I got to get this thing in my vehicle to get it home when it's all said and done. Unless we do like they did with the 6-foot Rick and send it home with Matt Gordon from Printed Solid. But what I was thinking is, with it being flat on the table and not being upright, we could just do strips of tape between the pieces to hold them together, so that when it lays flat, everything's put together. I could glue it to a piece of MDF to make it rigid. Let's see. When I was sending spinners in a bubble wrap padded envelope with one spinner was at the thickness limit for the mail slot. Kept the shipping costs down. So the thickness of a spinner, so you're thinking like 10 or 12 millimeters, Mike? Which would be doable. I mean, the original logo, this is only, well, that is 10 millimeters there. Yeah, we'll think about that. See what you think, Mike, for an overall thickness for it. Because I would like to make it as internationally friendly as possible as well. Okay, so that was negative 125, so we're going to go negative 250. Execute. Cut. And negative 375. Execute. Cut. Negative, that was 375, so negative 500. Cut. I would vote for thicker and too bad for the shipping costs. Oh, okay, so you're not too upset about the shipping cost, Mike? Let's see. An inch seam shippable, 25 millimeters. We can do that. Yeah, Carl. Which, I mean, because of the time of the Friday night hangouts, it basically is, you know, Canada, North America. I'm not sure. Never really seen if we have anybody from, like, South America. area, different countries in South America. But I know, like, for them, I know shipping is a royal pain no matter what, so I'm not sure that we'd actually get any involvement from there. I mean, if people want to, that'd be great. But I think the majority of our viewers are probably, there are some who stay up from, like, UK. We have Martin from Iceland who comes on the streams, but I think for the most part, everybody's in the US for the majority. Okay, I thought you were saying that because the amount that you had to spend for Rosie was high. I guess that was Krieg 3D printing. Okay, where were we? So that was 500. Could we get the 625 in there? Nope. Okay, so those pieces are going to be what they are. Mad Mike said about a small flat rate box is 8 11/16 by 5 7/16 by 1 3/4. Let's see. Yeah, so these will fit, being that these are 125 millimeters square, and the 1 3/4 inch height. So if we go 1 inch and you put it in a flat rate box, it almost wouldn't need any padding or anything. Not that something like this is going to necessarily need padding anyhow. So I think that's a fair size. And we're going to have these two side pieces. I may reserve those for people who have smaller build areas that want to print those pieces, or still want to be able to print, but don't have a 125 by 125 build area for some of the smaller printers. Alright, so how many pieces does that give us? I'm just curious. Is it going to tell me? 0 of 524 parts. Okay, so currently with the 4 layers, it's 524 pieces. So 524 divided by 4, what the heck's that? Let's see. Sorry, it's getting too late to do any math in my head. 524 divided by 4, so 131 pieces total. Yeah, so we'd be looking at 131 pieces if I combine those into the layers, and I think that's probably a good idea. I wonder what this thing's going to look like if it's multicolor. I think what I'll do, look right above the F. Do you have a very small triangle that can be merged with the part next to it? Do you have very small triangles that can be merged with the part next to it? Now, you're talking about, oh, well, I'm not sure which, actually, not sure which piece you're talking about, Carl. Right up in here, I'm going to leave the mouse there for a second for you to say yes. Are you talking like right in there? Oh, I see what you're saying. Up here at the top. So there's one here, one here, one here, one here. So you're talking those 4 corners? Yeah, up here. Yep, there's. Damn, streaming makes that really hard to do with the delay. Well, you know what? That can... What is the dimension of that? Let's see. That's actually not quite as small of a sliver as it might appear. Ugh. I am so used to Fusion. This is not Fusion. So, like, yeah, there is a really small sliver there, but if I combine these 4 layers, that sliver gets a little bit bigger. I don't know if it'll tell me the dimensions. Yeah, so that piece would end up being 90 millimeters wide by 23 millimeters, I'm sorry, 90 millimeters long by 23 millimeters wide and 12.5 millimeters tall. No, not exactly 12.5. It would still be the 50 right now. So let's select all of these. Okay, so that's Control A. That'll take a second. Okay. Select all. So that's 524 pieces. So we're going to change that height. Let's scale this whole thing. Is it going to let me do that? Oh, it's not going to let me do that. Are you serious, Netfabb? Well, and that's the other thing, too. Some of these pieces are actually going to be a little bit less. Yeah, there's my small build volume pieces, for sure. Crap, I wonder if I can change that. Nope. Okay, I know what I can do. So, each one of these cuts that I made looks like... Let's see, cut 1. So what happens, can I... Let's see, parts. Oh man, I really screwed that up. Okay, so we're gonna... Let's see, can I get rid of the empty groups? Remove empty groups. There we go. So that's a piece by itself. That's not right. How can I combine a group? Extra. What's up here? Does anybody know Netfabb and how to combine the pieces in a group to make one solid part? Let's zoom to all. Oh. Boolean operation. Okay, cool. So I can do that. I can select the group. Yeah, that's right. I don't see how you do anything in 3D Builder. Alright, so I'm just going to select that group. I'm going to combine plus there. So that's one piece. Now I got to do that 134 more times. That was totally the stupidest way to do this. Too bad it doesn't have a history like Fusion does. I could have just gone back into history and fixed that. Yeah, Rover, it's basically the Boolean action to join them together. The most stable, yeah, I don't want to. Go away. I don't know what that option is. Okay, wait, where was I? Combine. Good. Combine. Good. I'm just curious. Okay, so it's kind of... It'll let me recombine pieces. I think I did this piece already. Yep. Oh, this is such a dumb way to do this. I wonder if there's a keyboard shortcut for that. Nope. Settings. I wonder why it says demo. This is probably not the way I want to do this. So what do you guys think? Should I continue to go down through all the groups and merge everything? Or should I just go back to the beginning where I imported it, scaled it up, join them together then, or merge them all together, and then come back and split it back up? I'm starting to think maybe I should just split it up because it's going to be easier than clicking 134 pieces. Plus the number of parts isn't going down. I'm going to do that. What do you guys think? Yes in the chat for starting over and then cutting it, or no for continuing the way I'm going. I don't know if there's a way to save all the cut lines out or not. I had to enter them in one by one, so I'm guessing there's not. Start over. Starting over is probably faster. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Let's just do that. Project. New. Yes. Project. Add part. We're going to select all 4 pieces. Open. Okay. Now. Boolean. A Boolean operation failed can only be performed for closed orientation volume meshes. Please use the repair module to fix the detected issues. Use SOB. Okay. Fusion. Let's do this. Copy. Copy. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to resize it once I join it together. What I'm gonna do is take it in Fusion and join everything, and then export it that way. So we're gonna do modify, combine. Somebody's gonna jump on the stream right now and go, wait, I thought he said Netfabb. selection filter, select through. Let's do bodies. Bam. That should have selected everything. Oops. Oh, John, I'm sorry I missed your message. Thanks for leaving the stream up. Okay. Modify. Modify. Combine. New component. Okay. There we go. So we have this. Let's export that. I already had the one part. STO. Oh well. This is high res anyhow. Okay. Back to Netfabb. It's project. New. Nope. New. Oh yeah, Discord changes. Add part. Let's go back to the logo. High res. There we go. That looks better. Okay. So, we're going to scale this thing up again. So you get to see this all over again. Let's do the Y, which is 1,219. 1,219 millimeters, and we're going to turn off fixed scaling, and we decided we're going to go with 50 or 25. What do you guys think for the height of the pieces, the maximum height of the pieces? Some of these smaller ones will actually be less than that. Okay, Sean. So we're trying to decide what we want to do for the height of the pieces. Originally I was going to do 50 millimeters for the Z height, but then we were talking about postage and things like that versus durability of it. Rover's saying 25 millimeters. Like I said, originally I said 50, but then we were talking about 50 being a little bit too tall for flat rate box. They max out at 1 3/4 for the box size itself, not what can fit inside of it. So 25 millimeters would be what, about 1 1/8 inches? About 1 inch. That'd probably be okay. 1 inch thick by 125 by 125. So, or yeah, 125 by 125 by 25. Do 25 and spin it around to check for flimsy. What do you mean spin it around? Yeah, the thinner pieces would end up being about 12 millimeters. Each layer is 2 millimeters thick to start with on my logo, or my model of the logo. Yeah, you're right, but a lot of people go to the post office and say, I need to ship this, and the post office says, here's a flat rate box. So some people are going to be limited to a flat rate box, even though it's not the most cost effective way. So right now we've got 25 and 50 millimeters, which means some of the pieces will, because some of these edges, like out here by on the edge, this is all going to be smaller pieces, so that's going to be half, so it's going to be about 12 millimeters high, which should be I believe, some of the thinnest pieces. I could, if we did 50 millimeters max on the Z height, I could give the option for people to select the max height, either being 25 millimeters or 50 millimeters, and then hand pick the pieces that are less than 50. And 12 millimeters is pretty thin, but it's also pretty fast to print. Apocalypse Survivor, what do you mean by spin it around and check for flimsy? I'm not sure I follow that. Sorry about that. Forgot the mic was muted. Profound stuff. Thanks, guys. Okay, let me start that over again. So, as far as the heights go, if I went 50, the orange pieces would be 50 millimeters tall. So any piece that had orange in it on this would be 50 millimeters. Any piece that has the tan would be roughly 37.5 millimeters. I think that sounds about right. The black parts, so like along the edge here, some of the smaller printers would end up only being 25 millimeters, and then the silver part here in the middle would end up being 12.5 millimeters roughly, because these are 2 millimeters thick. So I think that's all right. What do you guys think? And I'll give people the option that if you want a shallower part that's not 50 millimeters because of shipping costs, you can select that. But when they're gone, they're gone. Sorry, Tanner. Yeah, no audio was my mistake. Sorry about that, guys. So what do you think? 50 millimeters with an option to print 25, and I can even give an option for some of these that are in the middle that may end up only being 12.5 millimeters wide, or tall, I'm sorry. So it'll be 125 by 125, and I know I'm repeating myself. A range of 12.5 to 100, or yeah, 12.5 to 50 millimeters tall. What do you guys think about that for shipping options? I don't want people to spend $30 on one piece. You know what I mean? Like Mike said, he spent $30 for the Rosie the Riveter stuff. Here in the States, a piece like that's going to end up costing, for the shallower ones, would end up costing about $7 max to ship it. Speak inches. I know, the inches side of things is a hell of a lot easier for me. Well, and that's the other side of it too. We could have people just hand carry them. The only bad part would be is if somebody ends up not showing up who said they're going to bring a piece. Yeah, that's what I mean, Mike. You spent $30 to ship a big box, so I think we can do that. I think I'll say this here just because it's not going to be a lot of people that I don't really know. The people that I'm familiar with that are coming to ERRF, if you guys want to hand deliver it, I would say yes. As long as you're going to be there early on Saturday, or by Saturday, early in the morning, so that we can, the plan is to actually start to assemble this thing throughout the day. Not actually have anything already assembled. I may have pieces laid out ready to go, but not actually put together. And I may not even worry about gluing it down there. We may just use duct tape on the back of it to hold it together for now, and then secure it. I'm not sure. We'll have to. This literally was just an idea I came up with tonight to do this. Yeah, that's the one thing. A lot of people are printing stuff for ERRF. So, all right, I think we're gonna do that. We'll do 50 with some options for some smaller pieces too. Okay. So let's go. I'm talking to myself again. Okay, Eddie. Hi. I said that already. Just to fill you in, we're doing the Friday night logo. We're going to put the word out probably tomorrow once I have this sliced up for a community build for ERRF. We're doing the pieces 125 millimeters by 125 millimeters by 50 millimeters. With some of the pieces are only going to be 25 millimeters tall just because of where the cuts will fall. We did this once already, but I did it with the 4 separate layers for each collar, which gave us 500 and some pieces. We're going to redo it as one solid piece and let people decide if they're going to do collar swap or not. Mike. Yeah, so we're going to do 125 by 125 by 50 and some 25s. And we got to slice this thing back up. Alright, so let's do 0, cut, and cut. Then we're going to do 125, I wish there were keyboard shortcuts for this. My microphone's easy to do a keyboard shortcut for. 250. Oops. No. Cut all parts. 250. Cut. Cut. 375. Cut. 5, so 500. I think I'd remember all these numbers from the first time, considering I did this 4 times. $750 and $875. How'd that work? I thought we had the edges before. It's 125, 250, 375, 500, 625, 750, 800, 875. Whatever. We have those real small pieces for smaller people. Alright, night Carl. Thanks for joining. Show them. I think that's gonna, having the grub screws in the Prusa is probably gonna make a huge difference. Alright, now we got to do it in reverse. So negative 125. Negative 250. Negative 375. Negative 500. Negative 625. Negative 750. Negative 8. What was that? 750, 875. Okay, so that's all the x-axis. So now we're going to do 0 on the y, cut, cut, 125, cut, cut, 250, cut, 375, cut, 500. So what's everybody else up to tonight? I'm not actually paying attention to where the cuts are on here. So 500 was all the way up there. So 625 would be off the grid, I think. Yep. So now we're going to do negative 125. Negative 250. Negative 375. Negative 500. Whoops, wrong one. Negative 500. Cut. Cut in the Y. Cut. You're working on your Core XY, Matt Johnson. Let's see. Tanner's driving home from work. And Apocalypse Survivor is printing printer parts, of course. Of course. Why do I... No, I don't want to upgrade Netfabb. Go away. Alright, so that gives us a total of 140 pieces. So I'm looking at these pieces. All of the pieces have parts that are 50 millimeters tall in them. So let's do this. Well, how do I want to do that? So, for anybody who wasn't paying attention, or wasn't with us when we were talking about it about 10 or 15 minutes ago, the highest piece is 50 millimeters. Which, in the case of the logo, would be the orange part of the logo. In this one. Shipping for people was the biggest concern. 50 millimeters is a little bit bigger than the standard flat rate box, which is how a lot of people ship stuff. So we could do a couple smaller chunks out of this to give some 25 millimeter tall pieces. Let's see, how can we do that? They go down the edges. Could be 125 or 25 millimeters. That's cool, Eddie. I saw that picture on Twitter. I guess of the, was that the neck of the violin? So I could do the black pieces down the edges. So right here on the screen, I could slice those up so that they are 125 millimeters. Yeah, keep saying 125. 25 millimeters tall instead of 50. Right now, all the pieces are 50 millimeters tall, which doesn't give some of our people shipping good options. I do not like Netfabb's rotation. I wonder if I can turn off the bed. Oh, whoa. That's not what I wanted. Yeah, I don't know what that's going to do. Let's do this. There we go. Yeah, Tony, I don't know if you have your headphones in this time or not. Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing that We the People did. Everything's gonna be on an X and Y location. We don't really need Z since we're doing, in this case, we're gonna do a single Z height piece. So when you're looking top down on this thing, wherever this grid goes up to here, so this would be X1, Y1, okay? Or actually, I guess down here. So it'd be X1, Y1. Then this would be X2, Y1, X3, Y1, X4, Y1, so on. So like till you got over to this piece, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be X1, yeah, X5, Y1, okay? This would be X5, Y2, and so on. So I'm going to do coordinates that way, just like We the People did, and have everybody write on the back of them which coordinate they are to make it easy for assembly. Although the pieces, for the most part, as long as they're printed to the proper scale and close to the right calibration, it shouldn't be too hard to figure it out, except for if I split these sides off and make them shorter pieces, which right there would do that. So that would be 920 millimeters. Really? So that's 0. 775 or 750, 800. So if I went there, so that's 920. I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut those edges off. Mike, what do you think about cutting the edges off to give people shallow pieces? Because now that we joined everything together, there really aren't any shallow pieces. Everything has a 50mm high piece in it. I'm thinking cut the two edges off of it out on the wings and make those, they would end up being, I guess, does this have edit? That would give some more smaller pieces, but then also give people the ability to ship cheaper if they're concerned with shipping. I think that would be a good idea. What do you guys think? Should we cut the edges off and make small pieces, shorter pieces? I love the delay on this. It's like do 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 do. I vote just leave the height at 50 and see what happens. Yes, those outer edge pieces might help some participants. So, Mike, you're saying leave it at 50, but go ahead and cut those outer edge pieces? Apocalypse Survivor says, nope, they are already small and uniform. They are uniform. Well, actually, those edges aren't uniform. What I meant by small, though, I was going more about the height. Like, if I cut this off right where my mouse cursor is over here on the right-hand side, if I cut that off there, put a line down through, it'll make some smaller pieces, but it'll also make shorter. It'll make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shorter 25mm, actually 12, 25mm tall pieces for people who don't want to pay the shipping for a 50mm tall piece. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Mike. We'll go quarters on that, or well, it's going to end up being 920mm on either side. Is the from center out. So let's do that. I think that's a good idea. And then we're going to do a negative 920mm, which should get me just outside of that edge, I think. Cool. Man, how's that work? They do not have an option to undo that either. I'm not sure what's going to happen if I slice that. You see how the edge of it's lighting up red? I think... Somebody rewind and tell me what the measurement was. Was it 920 or was it 924? I think it was 924. Well. Yeah. Can somebody rewind in the stream and tell me what that size was? I wonder if I can do it. That was 920. But if I do 920 on this side, for some reason, that's not exactly mirrored. Mike, you designed this. Why isn't that mirrored? Well, let's do this. Nobody's going to notice 922. which should... Yeah, I do not like their freaking rotation. Yeah. So 922 doesn't turn it red. 920 turns it red. So it's going to slice right down through there. So that. Okay, so we're going to do... Am I muted? Okay, no, I'm not. We're going to do 921.5. That is enough that it doesn't try to slice this edge off. That was my concern. What do you guys think? Nobody will notice that, right? A 1.5 millimeter difference in the two sides. Well, except for you guys. You'll know. And you'll probably tell me at ERRF. I'm going to do that. Execute. Cut. There we go. So we are up to 152 pieces. Yeah, I do not like the rotation of this. Like, this time it's going this way. A minute ago, I was able to rotate it side to side. Like, seriously. So now, the next part is I got to figure out how to... do this part. So let's get rid of the empty groups. And then I'm going to start down here at the bottom. So this is going to be, it'll be X1, X2, X3, X4, X5, X6. So let's rename, oh wait, where'd it go? That was this one that I wanted, that's this. Rename that to X1, or X6, Y1. That's not right. It's X1, Y6. Right? No. Jeez. X1, Y1. X6, Y1. Hey, Walter, how are you? Mike, I'm sure if you were there, you would walk right over to me and go, that's 1.5 millimeters wider than the other side. Okay. Well, how do I select that one now? Okay, so X6, Y1. This is going to be renamed. Why is it doing that? Go away. Oh, I can't do that. Where'd this one go? Okay, this needs renamed. What did I say that was? X6, Y1. So it's going to be X and Y. Then we're going to go to this piece, rename that to X7, Y1. Did you finally get the thing printing, Walter? Walter has been trying for what, 2 weeks now, I believe it is, to get his TiVo Little Monster up and printing. Walter, are you gonna join in and print a piece of the Friday night logo if I do a community build project for ERRF? And yeah, Walter said about 14 people watching and 4 likes. go ahead and hit that like button if you guys are new to the channel and haven't seen it before and you like what you're seeing. I'm trying to do more live streams, and that way, you know, we can hang out a little bit more frequently, and you guys can see. I suck at uploading videos half the time, so the live streams allow you to kind of see what I'm working on. X8Y1. Rename X9Y1. Alright, country. Walter gets the Never Let the Machines Win award. Awarded by the official NLTMW. I'm glad to hear you finally got that thing running. Everybody should go find Walter's videos on the TiVo Little Monster and hit the thumbs up button on those videos. He put a lot of work into getting that thing going. And he didn't give up. That's the most important part. So for everybody just joining, what we're doing now, we've got it all sliced up. You can see the grid on the logo. I'm going through and giving all the pieces a coordinate right now. So it's X across, Y up as we're looking at it, since we're looking top down on it right now. So I'm renaming all these so that when I save them, I'm hoping, I might be doing this for absolutely no reason whatsoever, but I'm hoping that ColorFab's at least nice enough, or not ColorFab, Netfabb is at least nice enough to save the file names that I'm renaming these to. Total number of parts is going to be 152 parts to make up. Walter, I don't know if you heard it or not, and anybody else. This, what you're looking at, is 4 feet tall, 6.5 feet wide, roughly. So this will be X1, 2, 3, Y2. X3, Y2. I'll tell you one thing, first impressions of Netfabb. Oh, look at that, I can do it this way. Netfabb sucks. The interface just sucks. What do you mean about the infill percentage skewed view? X4Y2. Rename X5Y2. X6Y2. I wonder if I can do this. Create a new group. Oh, damn it. Parts. Create a new group. Let's rename the group. Oh yeah, we'll definitely have a photo of it. That's for sure. Show them. What do you mean? Do you want sign? Like, as in, do I want you to sign the backs of them? Absolutely. Infill's up to you guys. Honestly, when I do community print projects, I use Simplify 3D to slice everything. And what I do is, depending on the height of it, I'll go like 50 to 75% of the way up to the first layer at 0% infill. And then I'll do like a 5% rectilinear infill, which is going to basically be garbage for the first couple of layers that it does it. But as it's bridging, now 125 millimeters is going to be a pretty wide bridge, but these are only 50 millimeters tall too. You could start out at maybe 5% and use the variable layer heights, and as you step up, increase your infill as you get to the up to the top. I would recommend probably close to the top layer doing like a 20 or 25% infill, or else doing a bunch of top layers. Yeah, so that's probably going to be my recommendation. I'll probably print one, see how it goes. For the simplistic version of it, I would say probably 15 to 20% infill. Probably 2 or 3 perimeters. And bottom layers, honestly, probably 3 at the most. Top layers, I would definitely do 3 at a minimum for the top layers. Especially the lower the infill you go with, the more top layers I would recommend. Hey, Cyber Dustin. So who won, you or John? Yeah, Mike's got a good suggestion right there. Everything 15%, 3 or 4 bottoms, 4 to 6 tops. I changed my settings around a lot depending on what I'm doing. You would think if I clicked on create new group here, it would take all those that are selected and move them into that group. But no. Uh-oh. What did I just turn off? So all parts. Night, Eddie. Have a good night. Thanks for joining in. Mike's too lazy to fiddle with settings, because then I would forget to change them the next time. Yeah, it really, honestly, sometimes I just leave things the way they are. Other times I tweak them. How do I get my navigation pane back? There we go. Okay. So I wanted to scroll down here and hopefully drag this to the Y2 group. How do I put them in that group? Oh, wait, I think I see. So this should select that whole, yeah, there we go. That's what I want. Okay, so there's Y2. So let's do this. Create group. Oh, not there. Remove empty groups. Create a new group. Rename Y1. Oh, this is monotonous. Y3. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. With those settings on almost any print, you're going to get a pretty decent print. Do this. Let's call this ungrouped. And then select all these and put all them in ungrouped. Now collapse. There we go. That looks better. Create. How many do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 groups. I have 5, so I need, that would be 7, 8, 9, 10. Rename. Y6. Night, Matt Johnson, thanks for joining. Country, same to you. Night, have fun on morning coffee. Have fun bragging that you got the TiVo Little Monster finally printing. And thanks for joining. For those of you who are joined but watching the stream but not subscribed, if you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. And if you are subscribed but you want to be notified when I go live, which I'm planning on doing more frequent live streams, be sure to ring the bell down below, and that way you'll get notified anytime I upload a new video or go live. And obviously I'm doing the Friday night 3D Printing Community Hangout logo. If you have not caught one of the streams before and you're interested in the stream, we have a community hangout every other Friday. The last one was this past Friday. The next one is June 1st, 10 p.m. Eastern time zone. I'm going to say it that way because depending on when you're watching this, it's Eastern Daylight Time, Daylight Saving Time. And if you're watching it in the winter, it would be Eastern Standard Time, so EST. But we pick a topic each week and about 3D printing or something going on in the 3D printing community, and we talk about that topic. And if you want to see more about it, go on Twitter and search for @F3DPCH, or you can also go on Facebook and search for F3DPCH public to find the public group where you can keep track of when and where we'll be streaming each week, or each stream. So what I'm doing right now is I'm selecting the Y-axis rows so that I can categorize them down here. So that's Y3, that would be Y4, just to make it a little bit easier for labeling. Excuse me. Somehow I got that in Y5, it should be in Y4. There we go. So what are you up to tonight, Cyberdust? I know you and John were playing something, Battleground or Fortnite or something. first were playing Battlefield 4, now you're playing... Oh, that's right, you did say you're messing with a power supply unit and Duet Wi-Fi. What printer are you putting that on? Oh, you're doing a CR10 clone, huh? Cool. Dustin, are you coming to ERRF? I forget. I'm almost positive you told me where you were from. But I'll apologize now. I'm horrible at remembering names, let alone locations half the time. There we go, Mike. Now we got a couple of those smaller pieces again. Smaller X and Y's. Right here on the edges. I think I might have had that down below too. Oh, congratulations, Contrade, for getting over 4,000 hours. How many subscribers are you up to? You just got to hit 1,000 now. Oh, Dustin, you're in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Well, that means Murph was pretty close for you then. That's right, you did say... I do remember you saying that now when we met at ERRF. Or, sorry, Murph. Too many ERRFs. Without any. It does sound like an excuse, doesn't it? I drove all but from where ERRF's going to be to go all the way out to Murph. 413 subs, so I'm pretty sure most everybody in the chat that's active in the chat on the stream is following Country 3D, but if not, you should go search YouTube for Country 3D and go give him a sub. He hit his 4,000 hour mark, so now he just needs to get to 1,000 subs. He needs 587, if my memory or math stands to be corrected. Subscribers, so that he can get to 1,000 subs, and then he can start to monetize his channel. So if you haven't subscribed to him, go help him out and give him a sub. Hey, I know how I could get this so I don't have to deal with getting it home. I could do a giveaway at the end of ERRF for the winner of the giant logo. Too late to do math. I agree. Nah, it won't be too bad getting this home. Worst case worse, I'll go home, get my pickup truck, and bring it back down and pick it up. Oops, I don't want to rename that. Okay, so now they're all grouped, so we can turn them all back on. Show group. Let's do this first of all. Remove empty groups. Parts. edit, view something somewhere. Show selected parts. Okay, so let's go over here, select Y1, scroll all the way down here to there, and show. Okay, so we're back to the logo. So now what I can do, let's go back up here. Collapse all these. Okay, so those are all already labeled. So we got Y2 is not all already labeled. So we head up to part number 9. Did we have an X10? No. So we're going to call this, rename X10 Y2. Yeah, so now that I did all that, I'm back to numbering all these in a grid format. So it's X on the width and Y on the height as we're looking at it on the screen. And I'm going to give them each an X and Y coordinate. Since we only have one Z height, Z doesn't matter. And then before I'm done and close this, I'm going to take a screenshot of it so that I can write on it which pieces are which. Okay, so now we can close the Y2 group and the Y1 group. Alright, Scooby-Doo, have a good night. Thanks for joining. And good luck with the Prusa printing better for you. I wonder if I can rename a whole block. X blank Y3. Nope, can't do that. Rename X 4 Y3. This is where voice typing would really come in handy. I feel like I'm playing bingo. Oh, there's what somebody should make. Somebody should make a 3D printed bingo thingy. Kind of like Plinko, where you drop the thing down through. But when it lands on a number, that's the number that gets called. I don't play bingo. I just thought it was a funny idea. So that's that row. So now we're on to this one. X1, Y4. And we're going to do this all the way across this row. I don't know how. They did this in Rosie the Riveter. I don't know how they managed to not go insane by the time they were done using Netfabb. Unless they were using the Pro version. Maybe they were using the Pro version. I forget what Sam said when she was on the Friday night hangout 2 weeks ago. Looks like everybody in the chat left. We still got 12 watching though. If you guys want to get in the chat and ask questions, tell me what I'm doing wrong or how you would do it differently, more than open to those ideas. After all, just because this is how I'm doing it doesn't mean this is the way you need to do it, but this is the channel how I do it. You know what, I just realized I can turn on caps lock. Tell me. X12, Y5. How will you check out a piece? Will they need to be photo submitted earlier than mailing? I think that's what I'm going to ask everybody to do, Apocalyptic Survivor, or Apocalypse Survivor. I'll do what Rosie the Riveters did. I'll ask each person to submit a photo with a measurement or a measuring tape or something in the picture. That way I can verify that the piece is at least semi-close to the proper dimension. The middle ones that are all perfectly square, no problem. They'll be the same dimensions. Z height might be slightly different, but that's no big deal. The smaller ones will be a little bit different, but at least if I know their piece, I can come in here, check the dimensions, and as long as their dimensions are pretty close, tell them go ahead, drop it in the mail, or if they'd like to print some more, I'll send them another file at that point. But I think I'm going to do like Rosie the Riveters did, where I send one file out to each person, and after they submit their photo, then I'll give them another photo, or another piece. And as far as asking for a piece, I guess since I'm doing all this work, we're going to put this coin together, or not coin, but logo together at ERRF. So if you are watching and you'd like to get a piece, email me, or using the Friday night 3D Printing Community Hangout Gmail account, which is F3DPCH F3DPCH@gmail.com. If you send an email there and request a piece for the logo, I will make sure to email it to you at my earliest convenience, which will be within 24 hours of the email. I'll get you a piece. If you would like to request a smaller piece or a shorter piece, please post that in your email, so that if you have a smaller printer build area than 125 by 125 or shorter than 50 millimeters for some reason, you can request the shorter pieces while supplies last. If you want to save on shipping too, that would be another reason to order one of the shorter pieces, just so it's not quite as expensive depending on your planned way to ship. I should have just numbered these instead of coordinates, but this will make it easier for assembly. So 18Y5. So again, you can request your piece by sending an email to f3dpch@gmail.com. So this is going to be X1, Y6. Let's go up here and close Y5. Actually, I'm going to turn all these off, with the exception of that one. Hide. Really? Hide. And we want to keep these on because these are the ones I'm working on. I'm kind of glad I did this in Netfabb just because of this part right here, as long as this translates out to the saved file names. This doesn't translate out to the saved file names. I just did this for absolutely nothing. I really need to finish this up and get to bed because I gotta drive down to Washington, D.C. tomorrow. Oh, no, 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 no. No, I don't want to remove that piece. X18Y7. Okay. Grape and blueberry apocalypse survivor. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What did I just do? What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I have no idea what I just did. What does the letter X do? I just pressed the letter X and that piece got small. Did it rotate it? Maybe it rotated. Yeah, it did. Okay, so if I just keep pressing X. Whew. Okay, so apparently in Netfabb, the letter X on the keyboard rotates. X1, Y8. I wonder if R is renamed. Oh. Let's see. New window. Netfabb Basic keyboard shortcuts. Oh, thanks, Adobe. Or Autodesk. Control F. Rename. Oh, man. Well, that's not the full list. Netfabb Basic 7. Let's just do it that way. Rename shortcut. Looking to see if Netfabb has a keyboard shortcut for rename. that doesn't work. Rename part. Or in the part menu, you can insert. Darn, there's no keyboard shortcuts for rename. That would have been nice. Rename X2Y8. So X6Y8. Yeah, I really need to get done and get to bed. I'm gonna be up early for work tomorrow with a long drive. Brain fart. X15Y8. Almost done. X18Y8. Okay, let's hide the Y8 row. Hide it. So this is going to be renamed to X3Y8 or Y9. Looks like the viewer numbers are going up. We're working on, for the newcomers, the Friday night 3D Printing Community Hangout logo. I'm slicing it up. I scaled it up to be 4 feet tall, 6.5 feet wide approximately. And it has been sliced up into 152 pieces that are going to be sent out to the community for a community build of the logo for the ERRF2018 event in Bel Air, Maryland on excuse me, on June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. If you want more information on ERRF, just do a Google search for ERRF, ERRF2018 on Google, and it will be, I think, the third link that shows up. The first one takes you to their Twitter, which you can start there to find it as well. But it's a community event of 3D printing nature. everyone there will be focused on 3D printing with customized printers, all kinds of neat modifications, really cool prints, all kinds of stuff. And the Friday night hangout is going to have the 4-foot by 6.5-foot logo done as a community project. So what I'm doing right now, I've sliced it up in Netfabb, and I'm currently going through and numbering all the pieces. As you can see, I only have this top row left to rename yet. Oh crap, I need to turn... Go away. I need to turn this back on so that I can see what I'm doing here. So this was X6, so this is going to be X6. But what I'm doing right now is giving each piece a coordinate of the X and Y axes, so that when we send them out, we can tell everybody which piece they have, and then they will be able to write it on the back with a Sharpie, and when they send it in, it'll make assembly a lot easier. We're going to assemble it at ERRF, and hopefully everybody remembers to submit their pieces in time for ERRF. But I've never used Netfabb before. This is the first time, so like right now it seems like I know what I'm doing, but in a minute I'm going to try to export these files with hopefully the file names that I'm giving them right now. If not, I've just wasted the last half an hour doing this. The reason you can't see the full logo is because I turned it off just to make it easier so I don't accidentally click on the wrong piece. Alright, so there's all the pieces. So now we're going to show all of these again. Okay, so there we've got all the pieces are labeled. Now, hopefully, I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to not save the parts out that way. Let's see, project, parts, export part as an STL. To save before closing, cancel. Okay, so I can't do it that way. Don't tell me I have to save all these parts individually. Export STL. Cancel. Extras. Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out now is, now that I've gone through and I've labeled all of the pieces in a coordinate system, I have to figure out how I can export them all as separate pieces. Check that out, I can print a screenshot. That's freaking awesome. Okay. So let's, since I don't know how to do this, let's Google how to export all the pieces. Netfabb. Oh wait, you know what? I had the basic manual. So here's the user manual for Netfabb Basic. I need to find out how to export, so we're going to do Control F, export, save and export, page 38, export part, export slice. In Netfabb Professional, there are several file formats available for importing and exporting parts. Yep, we already know that. Nope, don't care. Don't care. Project management. There are several methods to Netfabb projects. Read, open, and save or export. Actually, you know what? Before I screw up, let's do that part. Let's do save as, logo, Netfabb, damn it, I still have my caps on. Netfabb split logo, we'll call it that, make it easy to understand. Okay, so let's bring that manual back up. To save processing time, STL files with great complexity can be split before adding them to a project for further processing. Projects can be saved as Netfabb project files, and parts can be exported into 3-dimensional or 2.5 dimensional file formats. Screenshots can be exported. Yep. Okay. So it looks like this is the section that I want. There's add a part, advanced import, change options. Whenever you add a part to a file format representing parts or triangle meshes. Let's see. Change options for single part. Nope. Want to keep that. Here we go, save and export. So save as, export part. The option to export part can be found in the part menu or in the context menu after the right clicking on the part. It saves a selected part in either new files are saved and selected directory. First select the part, all the parts you want to export. When you move the mouse to export, a submenu option opens where you can choose a triangle mesh format or slice files in general. If you export more than one part, you will be able to change the format again in the export dialog. For exporting a part into 3-dimensional file, the same file types are available as for opening. Okay, so I have all of them selected. I want to go to part, export part, export as STL. Why is it only letting me export that one file? I want to export all. That does not look like it gives me the answer on how to export all the files at once. Oh, okay, so let's close that. We're going to go project, or edit, where is it? Parts, export, as STL, that's not want to replace it, or maybe if I do export STL, save. Can't do that. Oh, delete that. Go away. How do I export all the pieces? It says I should have an option to export all the pieces as individual parts. In the field parts, the number of selected parts is given. Next, you can change the format of the Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Export can be found in the part menu or in the context menu after right-clicking on a part on the screen or in the tree. It saves the selected part in either a 3D. The new files are then saved in the selected directory. First, select all the parts you want to export. When you move the mouse to export, a submenu opens up where you can choose a triangle mesh format or a slice format. To export more than one part, you will be able to change the format again in the export dialog box. So, okay, what if I do edit our parts? Okay, first of all, part, edit, select all parts, part, export part. Maybe if I do edit, export, it is not giving me the option to select. Damn it. I do not have an option for export all. Hey 3D Gusner, how are you? Sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat. I'm trying to figure out how to export all these as individual files. It's 152 pieces to make a 4 foot by 6.5 foot 3D printing community, Friday 3D printing community hangout logo. And I'm reading the manual for Netfabb because all the slicing is done. So I'm trying to figure out how I can export them all as one, or well, all as separate pieces. For output type, you choose if you want to save. For the output type, you can choose if you want to save all the selected parts in one file or save all the parts in different files. Figure 313, that's down here. So is it in my settings? Export parts. Is there a splitting tool for Fusion 360? I'm starting to wish I would have known that, 3D Gusner. This is supposed to allow me to export all of them at one shot, but I'm having trouble figuring out how to do that. I do not know how to do it. Cancel. Which version of Netfabb is this for? Netfabb Basic 7, version 7.4. That's what I'm running. Let's remove. wonder. Let's go here, remove, import, documents, logo. Yeah, that's what I'm trying, but it's not giving me the option to export all. See, this is what I got when I did that, even though I had them all selected. And this is the only option that I get. The manual says that this should give me the option to export them all. Part, export path, or part, and that's it. Any one of the STLs that I click on does not give me the option to export them all. I'm not sure how to get them all out without going and doing it one by one to 152 pieces. So we're going to do that. Export, STL, save. Crap, what did I just do? Export, STL, save. Export, STL, save. Oh, this is probably boring to watch me go through 152 parts and save them out individually because Netfabb won't let me do it all as one. Crap, no, I don't know which number I was at. Alright, well, I think what I'm going to do is end this here tonight. Hit the hay. And we'll pick it up tomorrow or Wednesday. I got to go down to Washington, D.C. tomorrow, so it depends when I get home if I'm going to stream tomorrow night or not. But for now, let's just save as and call this one in progress. Okay, everybody. Thanks for following along tonight on the stream and sticking it out as I learn Netfabb and start to do the layout for the Friday Night Community Hangout logo to be a community crowdsourced part or print, 4 feet tall, 6.5 feet wide. So, alright. Everybody have a good night. I'm Matt, and this is how I do it.